talk about loops in JavaScript, don't worry, I'll still give us time to write this. I just want to like wrap up what loops are, then give us time to go ahead and write this. Now, when we talk about loops in JavaScript, what exactly do we mean by loops? Now, for instance, I'm just going to go to the app.js file and leave this place. Go to the app.js, and in my index of HTML, just remove this script for a while. Good. Let's go to app.js and let's talk about loops. Now, when we talk about loops, what exactly do we mean by loops? Now, for instance, let's say I want to go ahead and output 10 numbers, right? What do? I can say let A equals to 10, right? Then I can say let B, okay, let's say let B equals to 2. Let's have this one as 1, right? Let C equals to 3. Let D equals to 4, right? Then let E equals to 5 up until 10, right? Then how do I print each of them out? Like I said, console.log A, B, C, D, and I'm going to break it out. And I'm going to have E, right? Now, if you go ahead and you check out your console, what are you going to have? So you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you get it now? Now, this is just a way of having what? Multiple tasks, repetitive tasks. But what if you want to just have, what if you now want to do something like this up to like 100, 1,000 times, infinitely? Do you go ahead and will start printing those things infinitely? No. Now, loops are just a way of what? Repeating tasks. Like having repetitive tasks just set once. So what am I saying? I can go ahead and what? Create a loop that prints this number 5 times with me just writing one program, rather than me writing it 5 times. That's what your loops are. Now, think about it. How is it that if I go ahead and I create a to-do list, just like what we did today, if I create a to-do list, tasks keeps adding. Now, one thing I did not like notice when we created our to-do list is that those tasks are not they're not adding on. Let me explain what I'm trying to say. So on this particular script now, when we added new tasks in this place, what exactly was happening? I think we'll say habits. I'm just going to go ahead and let me uncomment it from this place. Good. Now, let us go ahead and check it out. So I'm just going to say 5,000. Okay. Now I want you to check something here. If I say go to the gym, submit, can I see go to the gym? Good. If I click on submit again, I want you to tell me what you're noticing. What you notice is that this first of all gets outputted. This next. It is adding to it, meaning it is creating a new array. On every single word, submit. Now, what if you just want to have it like this, and then everything just keeps appending? That means you are doing one task, but you're doing that task multiple times. Now you can use your loops for it. What happens? You are repeating task, only that this time around it's doing new things. That's basically what your loops are used for. And that's the key point on why we use loops in JavaScript. Now, loops are very universal. Python, a lot of them, you probably heard of loops before. Even in as a computer science, probably heard of loops before, right? Now, those are what loops. How many of us study computer science? Computer science. What about you? Okay, now that's basically what loops are for. Now, one thing about your loops is that they are very much important. And in JavaScript, you have a lot of loops, right? But I will just give us some of them. You go ahead and check out the rest. Now, in your JavaScript, you have your for loop, right? You have for loop. You have while loop. You have do while loop. Yeah, you have quite a number of them. Let's even check W3 schools for some of them. So let's check W3 schools. Say let's check JavaScript. And let's see loops. So as you can see loops. So now in your loops, what do you have? You have for loop, you have while loop. Good. as you can see, you have for while. Let me scroll down to the rest. Now, as you can see, you have do while loop. Then you have quite a number of them. Now that's like the three basic, but then you have other loops also that try to like basically follow. Okay, let's just leave it at this. Now we're going to be doing your for loop and while loop. We're going to talk about for and while loop in details today. We'll talk about for loop in details today. Tomorrow we'll talk about no, sorry, Wednesday, right? Talk about while loop and probably do while. In fact, I want you to go ahead and read do while yourself. So just we can be very, very fast. Go ahead and read on while loop and do while loop before the next class on Wednesday. So we'll talk about while loop later in the next class. Now, moving on. What do we mean by for loop? Now, again, these things are preferences, right? You just need to understand how to use your for loop, how to use your while loop, how to use your do while loop. Then whenever you want to build programs, you think about the best one as at that particular time and you go ahead and use it. But in this case, let's talk about for loop. Now, how exactly do you use for loop? Now, let's say I want to recreate this same program that I wrote up here, but this time using what? Using loops. How exactly will I go on to what? To replicate it? Now, your for loop has a syntax. The first thing is what? Using your for keyword, and then what? You have your bracket. Then in your for keyword, you have a particular you have three things that goes into it, three parameters. First is what? Initialization. The second is what? Your condition. As that, okay. What's wrong? A semicolon is not working. Don't understand. All right. You have initialization. You have condition. Okay. You have condition, and then you have what? You have just remember, I just forgot what we wanted to do. Let me check it again. Okay, let's just go. And then you have let's just say execution. Now, the last thing that will now be there will now be your what? Will now be your code to be executed. That last thing is the execution, but let's go. Now, the first thing is what? Again, let's look at this. The first thing in your for loop is what? Your initialization. Initializing your loop. Second thing is your condition. What you want that loop to do, right? And the last thing is a very good increment or decrement. Just remember, increment / decrement. Now, I will explain to you what this means. Now, technically, your for loop is just another what? It's just another what's the name? Conditional. Why? It follows a condition. Trying to tell you that, okay, I want you to do this thing this amount of times until this condition is met. And most of the times, you use your for loop whenever you understand the amount of iterations you're going to be having. Don't worry, we'll get to that point. Now, what exactly am I saying? For instance, let's say I want to repeat this same thing with my for loop. I can have my for loop, right? Then I need to initialize it. So how do I initialize it? First of all, the first one is what? 1, isn't it? And I want to loop through 5 times from 1 to what? 5. So that means my initialization has to set a particular parameter to what? 1. So that I can now go ahead and what? Give it a condition that loops it through how many times? 5 times. So I can now say initialization, I can say I equals to what? 1. Do you get? For I equals to 1, what's not going to be the condition? The condition is not going to be make sure that what? I is either less than or equal to what? 5, because you are going from 1 to what? 5. And I can say I is what? Less than or equal to what? 5. So I'm not going to what? Increment I till what? I gets to what? 5. That's what I plus plus. Do not forget when we talked about plus plus in operation, in operators, right? That when we talk about plus plus, we are incrementing it by 1 until the particular condition is met. So now I cannot go ahead and say, okay, since that is what we want console.log I. Console.log I. So now what will happen? What will happen is that it will first of all go through the initialization phase. Oh, I equals to 1. Okay, move to the second one. I, which is the condition. Since I equals to 1, we want to make sure that what I is less than or equal to 5. Now it's not going to move to the third one, to incrementing it. It is not going to check to see if I is equal to or less than 5. Now, once I gets to 5, what happens? It stops the program. Now, let us check out our answer. Let's see what we have. And as you can see, you should have what? Let's refresh. I is not defined. As very wet. Okay, sorry, we did not use let. We have to define as a variable. So we did not use let. So now, as you can see, what do you have? 1 to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you get it now? Now that's how your loops work. So your loops are saying that what, first of all, you have to define I. Now, one thing about this I is that I can go ahead and say Paul. I can change this also to what? Paul. I can change this also to Paul. Then also do the same thing. Console.log what? Paul. And then you're still going to see the same thing. 1 to 5. But again, it's just standard practice that anytime you're talking about loops, you use three words, three letters. I, that is I, use J, or use K. It's just like it's an unspoken rule. I'm going to use that word. It's an unspoken rule in programming that use of I, J, or K. Now, in case you're not writing a program, you now use I, use J, use K. You cannot go ahead and you start using M, N, O, P. Like, it's just like a normal unspoken rule. It does not mean that you cannot use anything. You just use that during loops. Use I, use J, use K, use M, use M, N, O, P. Like, just from that particular progression. That is how you go ahead to use things like that. But do we understand for loops? Is it clear to us? Now let us take this example further. I'm just going to give us one more example and then we're done. And let us take this example further. Let's say you want to have you want to print out, let's say you have an array. Let new array equals to what? So now I want to have fruits, right? You want to have let's say nuts. You want to have I'm just gonna like have users, right? You know, all of these things can be objects. You can have an object of fruit, object of nuts, object of users. Let's say you want to have gadgets, and let us have the last one, which is going to be foods. Now, let's say you want to print out all of these things to the console without saying, no, to print out the console, how do you do it? You say console.log, right? New array, right? New array. Then you put in the index 0. Then you now say 1. Then 2, 3. How about you just go ahead and choose our loops. Now, what we can do now is that we can start by saying we want to print out all of these things to our console. So how do we go ahead and do it? Think about it. Your for loop takes in how many things? 3 things. The first is what? Initialization. You have what? Conditions. And last one is what? Increment and decrement. So you have to increase it to what it gets. Now, what are you going to be using to print it out? Now, I want you to think about it. If you want to like print out your arrays, what do you use? I just showed us now. Array or indexes, right? You have to get the index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means what you need to do now is that you need to make sure that, okay, you initialize I equals what's new array. Then you set a condition that will be greater than or equal to the or less than or equal to the length of that array. So that you'll be able to now get the indexes Do you get it now? Now, after getting the index, you now increment it till that index marks out. That's from what 0 to the last part of the index. So how do you do it? I'm giving us the experiment. So you start for what's the next thing? Let I equals to what? Equals to what? 5. Okay. I want to tell you something now. If I put 5 now, how does okay, continue. Continue. What's the next thing? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. 5. Very good. Next thing. I plus plus. Do you know what I've just done? You just said constant log I. What you've just done now is that only thing that gets me later is 5. Because you said let I equals to 5. Now, there is nothing connecting this thing and this thing. Nothing. How do you connect them? I already gave us the explanation. Very good. I equals what? New array. That's the first thing. I plus plus. It's correct, Abi. So let's check it. What do you still have? Nothing. Because again, they are not connected yet. You just said I equals to new array. Fine. Since I equals to new array, what is the condition? The condition is that you now need to make sure that what I is less than or equal to the what? To the length of that particular array. Yes, you know that the length of the array is 5. But still, you need to make sure that what it is obvious. So you use your method. And what's the method? I is less than or equals to what? New array dot what? Length. Now, even if the array is now more than 5, it will know. But if you just put 5 like that, you won't know. Do you get? Now, it is going to know. Now, if you say I plus plus, it will keep incrementing. Now, in this place, what do you want to console the log? New array and not what? I. Now, new array is not going to what? Take the index of I. Do you know why? Because it is now I that is 0. Is I that is 1. Is I that is 2. Is I that is 3. Is I that is 4. Up to 5. Up to the amount of what? The length of the array. So that is why I will now be what? The index. So if I save it up now and I check, what are we going to have? We should have, wait to refresh. Console log new array. Okay. It's a problem that I don't know about. Okay, let me remove. Okay, I think I understand why now. This we already used I here. Let's change this to J. Change this also to J, and change this to J, and also change this to J. And let's check it out. This is very weird. Okay, let's check it again. Let new array equals to fruits, nuts, users, gadgets, and let J equals to this. Okay, let me check if this is the problem. I think that might be the problem. So it's not a function, so it should actually work. It's not even giving me anything. That's the problem now. It's not even giving me any error. What might be the problem? Let's check their example. So it should actually give us, an answer. I honestly do not know why it is not giving us an answer. Okay. Okay. I think I understand. This is one of the biggest mistakes someone will ever make. Now, it is not supposed to be let J equals to new array. It's supposed to be like, where does an array start from? So it's supposed to be what? Let j or let I equals to 0, j less than or equal to, let's say less than equal to what? New array dot length, then I plus plus. Now, if you check it out, now the reason why it is less than is because it can never be equal to. Like I said, an array automatically still has a what? An undefined value here. Because it's saying that okay, there will always be a value. So now it has to be less than. So if it is less than, it will automatically give you what you need. So if you check it out now, what are you gonna have? You're gonna have fruit, not users, gadgets, and fruit. Now as you can see, you didn't need to like go ahead and start writing console.log new array 0, 1, 2. I just wrote it in how many lines? 4 lines, and then I have every single thing. That's how loops work. Allow you to recreate all of those things multiple times. Repetition. Do you understand loops now? That's basically what your for loop is all about. Now, that is basically going to be all for today. We've talked about a lot of things, quite a number of things, how functions work, how object works, how array works. Now, I've talked about loops, how loop works. Now, in our next class, we'll go ahead and talk about while loop and do while loop. Then we'll have more explanation and examples as to how all of these things, connect and how they work. Do we have any questions, Nipa, today's class? Any question, addition, subtraction? Okay, so let me just stop recording now. Then you can have access to the recordings. All right, so